Another winter ends and another spring blossoms. I'll be giving my thoughts on what I watched this season without specific spoilers, and talk about what I plan to watch next season. This season was packed with shows. Pretty sure this is the most amount of shows that I've watched in quite a bit. Only one of the new shows that I watched stood out as especially great to me, but I enjoyed all the ones that I did watch, even including the one that I did decide to drop. And all three of the continuing series I watched kept up their good quality. So first we have Dr. Stone Science Future. This was another excellent season of Dr. Stone. I was on the edge of my seat each episode and had the hardest time waiting between each episode out of anything else I watched this season. When I first started Dr. Stone, I never thought that I would get into it as much as I have been for the past few seasons. The aspect of Dr. Stone that I think is the strongest, compared to many other long-running shonens, is how thoroughly consistent it is when it comes to the overall quality, tone, how science is used, like how believable it is, suspension of disbelief, stuff like that. This feels so consistent, and that's one thing I really appreciate about Dr. Stone. I really can't say much about a series like this, considering how far it is into the story, without spoiling things, so I'll just say that I enjoyed this arc a lot. I really loved the villain, and I'm really excited for how the story continues in the next core. And for anyone who doesn't know, there will be 3 seasons, with this being the first one, 3 cores in the season for this. Out of all the shows of this season, this was my favorite. Dr. Stone also gets my award for the best opening, because you cannot beat the immaculate vibes of Casanova Posse. It's absolutely the best opening, without a doubt. So next we have ReZero, starting Life in Another World, Season 3. So this was another crazy arc of ReZero. This is another one that I can't be specific on for obvious reasons. The art and animation is absolutely fantastic as usual. All the characters and their drama are super enthralling. I do wish a plotline with a certain character was not getting dragged out a bit, in my opinion, but outside of that, I really like how everything played out, especially that very sad twist at the end. That's very painful, but looking to see how that goes. We got some especially interesting and dynamic combat this season with a certain asshole, who I loved to see get punted around. And I am super excited for the continuation. And for the third of the big long-running series that I'm a huge fan of, that was included in this season, we have Shangri-La Frontier, Season 2, the second part of it. As usual, this was a ton of gaming fun. I think it's about the same quality as the first season, now that we've gotten to the end of it. It still carries its sometimes strange pacing and weird choices of places to leave off at certain times, but I am used to how this series does things by now. I am very much in for the long haul, and I know that this series always ends up at a very awesome conclusion for all of its arcs, so it has my full trust and confidence that even for all its weirdness, it's worth it. The great action with awesome art and animation portraying it, the video game stuff, and the characters continue to be awesome and leave me wanting more. And unsurprisingly, Season 3 has already been confirmed. Based on where I left off, that just made sense. And I'm really looking forward to it. And a reminder that I did do an analysis about this one, if you want to check that out on my channel. And next, we have Honey Lemon Soda. So for the first one of the completely new shows that I'm talking about from this season, here we have a classic shoujo. I've watched a handful of shoujo over the years, most of which I've enjoyed, but I don't actively seek them out. I just happen to find ones that I like and appeal to me in some way. My older favorites are Ouran High School Host Club, Kimi ni Todoke, Ouran Monogatari, and Maid Sama. The latest I'd seen before this is a Sign of Affection, which you can find on my website. I didn't do YouTube videos on them, but on my blog, my website, you can find episode reviews of those. I don't really talk about shoujo all that often, so I just wanted to talk about it a bit here. So for this one, this is an overall solid but not spectacular show. I feel the emotional issues that surround Uka, the main character, are pretty compelling and well done. Particularly with the idea that trauma and severe emotional issues are not an easy fix, which anime, especially a lot of like the big shonen type stuff, can tend to make things seem oversimple. Here it gives you more of that slow burn growth, which I very much like. If you care about or can relate to issues of adolescence, lack of confidence and self-worth, and the difficulty of improving yourself, things along those lines, I would consider checking it out. It is a pretty standard shoujo romance through and through, so if you can't stand some of the typical shoujo tropes, then this probably isn't for you. The male lead I know is a bit divisive, I've seen from looking up other people's thoughts. I personally, he didn't bother me that much, but I can't exactly say I liked him a lot either. I know some people think he's the hottest. This is the hottest type of dude you can possibly see, or they can think of him kind of as his annoying, weird asshole. I've really seen everything across the spectrum from him. If I were to put myself in the show, I would not be interested in him romantically or platonically when it comes to my taste in people, honestly. Overall, I think none of the guys were especially great as characters or memorable. Obviously, he's memorable, but the other ones, not so much. The girls are generally the more interesting and better characters, and Ayumi is best girl for me personally. And just to make a comparison, since I brought it up, in A Sign of Affection, I personally enjoyed the wider cast of characters, and the male lead much more. And the visual quality of the show is also not particularly great, and does have some moments where it's noticeably worse. It does have some moments that look really awesome and have great direction as well, but the average animation can be a little more on the stiff side. I think this is one where non-shoujo fans can definitely enjoy it. Again, I've watched a bunch of shoujo, but I won't consider myself a fan, because I know what actual shoujo fans are like. That's not me. I just happen to come across series that I think look interesting, and they happen to be shoujo. It's rare that I actually go out of my way to find a shoujo specifically. If this is one, if you like adolescent school drama and romance, you definitely could like it, but it does have some pain points that I think could bother other people, for example, the male lead. I don't think he's that bad, but I know some of his character traits and the way he goes about things can be a little weird or annoying to some people. I did genuinely enjoy it. I really like connecting with some of Uka's issues, and I am thinking of putting together a full video and blog post about this if I can get it to a state that I like, so you can stay tuned for that. But the connecting with her issues and some of the romantic moments are really the only parts that were truly memorable, for me at least. I'll conclude by, hopefully I'm getting it across that it is decent. I did enjoy it. I just think there's some obvious negatives and less good things that can make you understand why I also saw a lot of people consider it very average. It has some big strengths, but it does have some bothersome things too. Definitely enjoyable, but I would recommend other great shoujos over it if you haven't seen that many, like some of the ones I mentioned. But what I can give it is the best ending award. The vibes, the visuals, and the song felt like just such a perfect match for the tone of the series. So I highly recommend the ending, at least, though I don't know if it'll be as good if you haven't seen it. So moving on, next we have Welcome Japan Miss Elf. I have a full review coming for this one where I'll really get into my thoughts, so I'll keep it brief. This show is complicated for me. While yes, I definitely enjoyed it, I've got a lot of issues and nitpicks about it. A lot more than I would say I usually do, especially for really anything else that I watched this season. When it comes to these comfy shows, if you don't know already, I love comfy, wholesome, slice of life type shows. Usually I'm not that picky about them. This one does a lot more that I'll get a little bit into. It does a lot more, so I have a lot more nitpick about it. If you want an isekai that has an interesting premise, that also brings in comfy slice of life, travel, foodie, romance kind of stuff, then consider giving it a try. But in doing both, it does not do either of them as well as you might like, especially for me on the fantasy side. It has a novel premise, going for this mix of isekai and comfy slice of life, but it also heavily falls into some tropes, especially ones that I don't like. If you love elf girls, then you should definitely go for it. Though some of her appeal will be lost if you are pretty neutral to elves like me. Like, I'm not going as far as saying fetish because it's not purely like a sexual thing. Some people just really like the aesthetic and character designs and stuff like that. So I'm just saying in general, if you like elves, that's a bonus. If it's not, then it's just not. It has some romance aspects to it as well that they are genuinely pretty sweet. And it succeeds at giving you that comfy traveling and appreciating food and like each other and appreciating the world because of the person you like and all that kind of stuff. But I really wish the main character was done better. I really don't care for him that much. So, wrapping it up, I think this is a real mixed bag. Coupling together to like an alright show that I think could be a big hit or a big disappointment, depending on your tastes, and if any of its iffier aspects are pet peeves for you, because that's the thing, some of its iffier aspects were pet peeves for me. So that's why I think I'm a little more down on it than some people, but in conclusion, I would say, kind of similar to Honey Lemon Soda. I put it in like the average category, but with more obvious downsides. And then next, we're getting into the shows that I did do first impressions on, starting with Okitsura. So again, you can refer to my first impressions review if you want to see more detailed earlier thoughts, and I'll keep these brief as well. By the end, I still stick to what I said there about this being a solid but niche appealing show. I appreciated the committed focus on Okinawan culture. That aspect was interesting to me throughout the whole thing. And it was generally funny, with the comedy not running dry like I was kind of worried that it would. But the romance side of it was still not particularly great, at least in my opinion. If you're interested in learning about Okinawa and like comfy slice of life, then I would definitely say consider it. But if not, this is a fair skip. Also, a good show. I think a little bit, I would say better than Honey Lemon Soda and Miss Elf, but niche and still more on the average side. And then next, we have Flower and Asura. Again, refer to my first impressions review for more detailed thoughts. This is the other major work of Takeda Ayano, who wrote Sound Euphonium, and you can definitely see the parallels between these two series, with them both having very strong characters and writing. If you like Euphonium, I highly recommend you give it a try, just based on that, if you like the author's style. So I feel like with both anime, the author style is done well and everything like that. This is one of those hobby-focused series that I really like and that I praise the most, where your interest in the hobby is not required for you to get invested in the story and the characters. I mean, I think all hobby anime should ideally be like that. Most of the ones I watch are, but this is, I think, one of the better ones. Characters are king for me when it comes to pointing out what a single aspect of a series is as most, considering whether it's the most important or not. For me, it's characters, and Flower and Asura had my favorite characters by far for all of the new shows. They all stand out and developed very well over the course of the series, and my investment in them happened very quickly, and I don't really think it ever faltered. This is my definitive favorite of the new shows. And Akiyama is best boy of the season, at least when it comes to the new characters. I would happily give this series a full focus of writing and video, and I actually do plan to read the manga for this one. So, I hope to make an analysis based on something in here. Then, on to the last one, that first impression. I Have a Crush at Work. So, again, first impressions review. My feelings did not change much since then. The show is cute and sweet, and it brings up some good situations and themes when it comes to work and relationships. The most notable thing to come out of it after my first impression is the second main couple that comes together. I did not expect to like them so much. I think they're the highlight, honestly, especially considering that type of couple is not one that I normally like. I'm not a fan of the aspect of it. It'll be obvious once you see it, or if you look it up, but I'm usually not a fan of that. I really like them. I still think it is a very average, comfy rom-com that is enjoyable if that is your thing. If you're someone like me, if you don't just eat up absolutely wholesome, comfy things like I do, I'm pretty much always up for more wholesome, comfy shows when I have the time to watch as much as I want. But if not, it is definitely skippable if you don't like don't like these comfy things as much as I do, or if you're like romance, if you just get as much romance, especially adult romance, because This one actually features adult characters, which for anime is sadly is rarer than I wish it was. But if you don't have either those specific hyperfixations, you could call it, then it's a pretty average one that you could totally skip. I think you could find better ones, but this is a thoroughly enjoyable show, in my opinion. And next, this is the last show of this season, and is sadly, I hope this does not anger too many people, but feel free to talk in the comments respectfully, is Sakamoto Days. This is one of those series that I enjoyed for what I watched. Wholeheartedly, I enjoyed it. But I felt I had enough of it partway through. I don't think it got worse than when it started or anything like that. I just think the appeal wore thin. My feelings got confirmed when I stopped keeping up with it because I went on a trip for about 2 weeks, so I wasn't watching anime at all during that time. And when I got back, I just didn't feel like picking it back up. I was kind of feeling a little tired of it as I watched. I believe I watched to episode 5, I think. But yeah, at that point I was starting to feel like, do I really need to come back? But then when I came back, I just didn't feel like I really needed to pick it back up. It is a good show. It has great animation, it has great fight choreography, it's decently funny. It is a good show, in my opinion. But series primarily focused on action and or comedy can be very hit or miss with me. And to me, there just wasn't enough to the characters and the storytelling for me to get attached to. So like I said, characters are king. After that, I would say it is the story and the emotions of the characters, emotional journeys, all that kind of stuff. That's what grips me the most. And to me, Sakamoto Days just didn't really have that, as well as other action comedies, more like Buddy Daddies does. I enjoyed what I watched, but I had enough. If you want to just compare it to like books, this is one where I feel like I would have read the first volume, enjoyed it, but just didn't feel like picking up the next one. If you want to hear my thoughts on a similar situation, you can check out my video or my blog post on Shikanoko, which that was also one where I enjoyed it, but I just didn't think it was good enough or doing enough for me. So, just get to the point. Good. I think it's a good show. If this type of show is your thing, you should go watch it. It's good. It just doesn't do enough for me. So now we will be moving on to spring 2025. This season is going to be pretty light for me, which I'm looking forward to, as I've had a lot of stuff on the back burner that I've really wanted to get to, but I've struggled to keep up with them while keeping up with the seasonals. So if you don't know, I've been following seasonals for years now, and since I started writing, I've been following and talking about the seasonals. I love it. I will always, into the near future, I'll always follow seasonals, but I just need a break from so many. I watched, including Sakamoto Days, I watched 9 shows this season. For the next one, I am bringing that down to 4. Because I really want to get back to other reviews and primarily analysis that I've had on the back burner that I really want to get to. So, starting off with the new shows, the one I'm most excited for, we have Mono. This is my most hyped anime for the season. The manga's author is Afro, who also made Eurocamp. And this also runs in Kyorawa magazine, as well as like Eurocamp. I love my cute wholesome shows, and if it's anywhere near as good as Eurocamp, I'll enjoy it. The vibes are seemingly very similar, but with the focus of the high school club's travels being on photography and film, rather than camping. Studio behind the anime is Sonya, I'm assuming that's the way it's pronounced. A very new studio who does not have any solo produced works out yet that I could find. I think they just worked with other studios, but this is their first proper solo work. But based on the PV, the show looks great. It looks very similar to Eurocamp, and production quality looks good. It seems to mimic the style for the characters as well. So I see no reason not to be excited for it just because it's a newer studio. If you like wholesome, cute girls do cute things, outdoorsy, slice of life, all that kind of stuff, then I would definitely keep Mono on your radar. And staying in a very similar vein, we have Food for the Soul. This is another comfy, cute girls do cute things, sort of slice of life. This one seeming to be based around cooking. And this one has the characters in college, rather than high school, so I hope that notably plays into things, and helps differentiate it from the myriad of high school cute girls do cute things focused ones that we have. I don't have much information on the background of this show, as it looks like the manga and the anime are both in the process of being released at pretty much the same time. So while I would not call this an anime original, because the manga does exist too. I just think they're both coming into existence at the same time. So I'm not going to call it an anime original, but it does not have its proper source material as well. But what's also notable, that also gives me confidence, is that the creator behind it is Atto, who wrote another slice of life favorite of mine, Non Biori. The anime is being done by PA Works. I'm sure most people know PA Works. They have a very high number of works of varying quality, but they do put out a lot of great stuff that I've been a fan of. The most recent two of theirs that I've watched are Your Boy Kongming and Buddy Daddies. So this one looks like a cute and wholesome fun time, so I'm going to give it a watch. And next, completely shifting genres, we have Guilty Gear Dual Riders. So I'm not exactly a Guilty Gear fan, but it's a series I've known about and respected for a while. I don't enjoy playing fighting games, it's not my preference, outside of playing with my friends every so often. But I've seen a lot of stuff online for Guilty Gear, and I love the series' energy, the style, and the soundtrack. I'll happily take the chance to try to enjoy the series in anime form. Studio Sanzigen has done a lot of CGI anime series, and in this case, the CGI haters really can't complain, as the anime style is pretty much dead on to the 3D used in the game, to my knowledge. I think, based on the PV, it looks great. And by the way, for these new shows, in my blog post for this, I have the PVs for the promotional videos for the new shows. These four are linked there, so if you want to easily be able to see the PV, you can check that out. But the soundtrack also looks like it will be either done by the same people or done in the same style as the games. So overall, this looks great to me. I hope old fans, new ones, and people in the middle, like me, can all enjoy this anime. Totsugeki! And next, we have Rock is a Lady's Modesty. Anime about girls putting bands together has always been a thing since K-On! Was a massive hit, but recently it feels like we've been getting a lot of them. Boat to the Rock, Girls Band Cry, Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night, Bang Dream, etc. I tend to enjoy these series when they give me great characters and link the characters to their music in compelling ways, like all three of those first ones did to a good degree. I haven't seen Bang Dream, but I just want to list that one because I know it's pretty big right now. And this season is no exception, as we've got one, but this at least seems to have a good new twist on the formula. This one is about girls at a high-class school for Ojo-samas, with our characters seeming to rebel against the system through their rock music. It's being made by Bandai Namco, which obviously I'm sure most people also know Bandai Namco, but when it comes to anime, I don't really think that gives me much to go off of, at least to my knowledge. But based on the PV, the anime looks like it has great energy and style to it. I hope it executes the tonal clash of high-class society with rock as well as it seems to intend to. This part that I'm most excited about. And now it feels like a good time for one of these girls band anime to do something different. So I'm going to give that one that is trying to do something different a chance. And lastly, I just want to briefly mention My Hero Academia Vigilantes. I like MHA, and I did enjoy reading the first few volumes of Vigilantes, but I just don't feel like I need to watch this right now. Maybe once the main anime is over, I'll end up watching it. I'll probably watch it, but again, I'm trying to keep this season very light, so that's what I'm going to do. And with that brings us to a close. Please like, subscribe, and all that stuff if you don't mind. And I'm surprised this actually turned into one of my longer things in writing, at least. Usually these are pretty brief, but again, I watched a lot of stuff, so I had a lot of stuff to talk about. So my seasonal coverage will be a bit later, but I still have things I'm writing for shows of this one, Winter 2025, and I still plan to cover these four shows in some degree. At least I'll do a seasonal roundup. You can always expect those from me. But we'll see. I might do first impressions and stuff like that as well. And with that, again, thank you very much.